Okay, so this is all just sort of background stuff, you know.
Yes.
But it when you do stuff like that, it leaves an impression that doesn't go away.
No.
And when I got here to Minneapolis and discovered that I could live down on Nicollet Island, and the powers that be wanted to clear cut everything off the island and turn it over to a private developer for a gated community.
Yes.
In fact, well, we took them to the cleaners. We did.
Yes.
We had the Nicollet Island Flag and Drum Corps, which was our local militia.
Yes.
We had a geodesic dome framework from the university that was officially not there, but we explained we weren't going to inhabit it. We were going to use it to experiment with geodesic design because there was nothing in the state's brand new building code about geodesic
Yes.
structures. So the city really didn't know what to do. And we said, well, don't worry about it. You know, come down and see it. It's just sitting there. And you know, we'll agree that it's not there. And they came down, and son of a gun, it wasn't there because the fraternity had come and gotten it and used it in some cockamamie thing they were doing over at the field house at the university.
Yes.
Leaving Saul Jacobs, the director of the Department of Inspection, somewhat bemused at the moment. Well, other capers. Another time it was they were doing a 40-acre economic marketability analysis survey. And we had raised enough mayhem that they included our little Nicollet Island pack as one of the respondents. And we got a hold of the staffers who had been imported to do this study for the Minneapolis Housing Authority and got permission to take them down in the tunnels under the island, there in the dark, to show them the 1890 water mains and the limestone caves that had been carved out, or not limestone, sandstone caves that had been carved out for beer storage from a brewery that used to be across the back channel of the river there. They were fascinated, and I filled their ears with nonsense about the Pioneer Square underground tunnels that had been developed as a tourist attraction there in Seattle. Well, here we are. We're in the St. Anthony Falls Historic District, and this is Nicollet Island, and by golly. First of all, from the geologists that I got in from the university, no way they were going to build great big high-rises. The ground wouldn't take it. The ground was unstable. They'd have to go down 90 feet to get to bedrock. And the limestone cap, if they weren't careful, they'd crack it and the whole thing would go away. So the original plans that had been in people's minds down there in City Hall, where, you know, the powerful people live, had to be scrapped because it couldn't work. Well, and then, not just to be negative, we said, well, you know, I mean, I got the Art Institute down in Chicago to write to me on their stationery and suggest Bucky Fuller as the primary architect for the renewal of the area. And then one of the other people on the island at the time had a good friend who had been the architect of L'Habitat at Montreal World's Fair in 1967. He came to visit, and we told the university architecture people that he was coming, and they were very excited because he's an international first-class architect, you name it, he does it. And the city stiffed us. We had a big fancy meal for him over at Jack's Cafe, and they wouldn't come. I mean, because their dignity had been hurt or something. I don't know what their problem was. They don't come any more prominent than that. And of course, he had wonderful suggestions of ways that we could build up the island again using his particular architectural models.
Wow.
And what this did to the city, it pushed them into having to get something of equal substance to compete with these high-profile suggestions that were coming from that little band of scalawags down there on the island.
Yeah.
I love doing stuff like that because it's so positive after all.
Yes.
Well, okay. From this also came Darris's decision with the Hennepin County Board to move that span of the old Plymouth Avenue Bridge down the river under the existing bridges and to put it in place between the south tip of the island and Main Street to connect vehicular traffic with the cobblestone street on Main Street. The whole historic district renovation revolved around this conclusion that people had to draw, that they really did have to do the historic district motif, because nothing else would really cut the mustard.
Right.
And it also led to the eventual rehab of all the standing buildings that were worth anything down on the north tip. We saved the Salvation Army building that had been a sash and door mill back in the 1870s that had been used as a men's dorm by the Salvation Army that was going to be torn down when they put in the highway turnaround. And we got the highway guys, same thing, suborning the staff, got the highway guys to come in, had a wonderful Christmas party with eggnog that I made the housing authority buy, and cookies and little girls and pinafores and all, you know, the works. And wine them and dine them and say, oh, it's so good to see you. We're so happy to be able to work together with you. You know, it was just this one little itty-bitty thing. Meanwhile, over on the West Bank, of course, they were howling and yowling and having rent strikes and God knows what all about whatever was going on over there in our sister urban renewal area. So here we are these little placid sort of Swiss people, you know, we just have our ways. And well, it just is so disarming. And good came of it. All those old gingerbread houses are all still standing. The Grove Street Flats got rehabbed. They were going to tear that thing down too. And it's on and on like that. I just can't get enough of this business of helping the city do a better job of governing itself. And of course, in order to get to that point, I and we had to reach out to all manner of people who remembered the island from when they were little. We used to go down there and go skinny dipping or fishing in the river or whatever, including Mrs. McKnight, the wife of the famous rich McKnight family, including a high-ranking fellow from HUD, an African-American guy, that when he was a kid would come down and go fishing in the back channel down there. And we just appealed to people who had this as part of their lives. And of course, housing didn't like this at all. They wanted to do this other thing. And yet, I followed the rules very carefully. I read the federal rules. And one of the things was you had to have a representative character. We're coming back to this initiative here on this issue of representative character. I agree with Carol Becker that what we have right now fails the test of representative character. It's old white guys that are prosperous or something, you know. Well, representative character down on Nicollet Island in those days meant getting the guys that were camped out on the river, the hobo jungle guys, to sign on to our petition to be recognized as a neighborhood group, because they could legitimately claim that that's where they lay their head at night for 10 days in a row. That made them citizens, that made them eligible to be members, resident members, even though they had no fixed address, no mailboxes, no kidding. But on the face of it, they were legit. I got every single person that lived in that district to sign that petition. Every one.
That's great.
So there is no question of the representative character. If you've got 100%, well, it's over. Okay. Now, we're not going to get 100% of every little slice and dice of the subsets of the population of the city of Minneapolis to be represented in this latest innovation, this latest improvement in how we govern ourselves. But we can sure get some big chunks into it that weren't there before. And that, frankly, is progress. Neither the mayor, nor the city council, nor the political parties have one word to say about how this process is conducted, if the electorate passes the amendment. That's the story.
The electorate.
Now, this is a lot more serious. This is a lot more serious. These hijinks on Nicollet Island years and years ago, even though a lot of good things came of it. That was kind of adolescent in comparison. Now we're playing for keeps. Got a bunch of serious people, done hard work on this, and we mean every bit of it. So.
A lot of hard work, and something that is very important and needs to be passed. And we need to improve the situation with the districting.
Fatima Dubé was the president of the high-rise at the Pentagon high-rise in the public housing system. She had been an anchor broadcaster in Radio Mogadishu before the government collapsed. She'd had her undergraduate training at at Moscow University. And she was over here. She was, at that time, probably in her early 70s, about my age. And she got involved in this whole business about voting in caucuses and whatnot. So we get to this convention, and at this one, I had some kind of title, I forget what it was. Anyway, it was my job to pass out ballots and take them back. And if you may recall that episode, there were repeated ballots where Mayor Ryback was trying to get the endorsement, and Commissioner McLaughlin was trying to keep him from getting the endorsement. Voted and voted and voted and voted. At one point, Fatima, as I'm giving her yet another ballot, she looks up at me and says, "But Fred, why do we have to vote for the same person so many times?" And half a dozen people in her vicinity helped her understand. I couldn't have been prouder. I didn't have to explain. There were many others there who knew of her stature in the Somali community, who knew why she was there and why she was asking, and were more than happy to help her understand. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left.
All right.
And if there are some summaries, or maybe someone's just tuned in that hadn't been watching through the whole thing. So we're encouraging Minneapolis citizens
people who
to
are
vote
going,
yes
if
for
they're
the
going,
new charter.
Yeah, if they're going to vote on November 2nd, then by golly, better make sure.
First of all, we want to encourage people to vote.
Well.
And when you vote.
Okay, not if, but when.